How's it going, everyone? It's Javi here with another hurricane update. Today is August 22nd, I think, or yeah, it's the 22nd now because it's 12:16 a.m. So I'm doing this report pretty late, but we're looking at Hurricane Lane, which has been almost trending at this point because this hurricane basically only like 3 days ago was expected to just stay south and basically remain neutral and stay far enough down south where it won't affect the Hawaii area. But now it seems like Hurricane Lane could make a major impact to Hawaii, especially if if the GFS model is right, and it is taking a landfalling potentially major hurricane right over the biggest island of Hawaii and probably the most populated area of Hawaii. So this could be major for Hawaii. So Hawaii, you need to be watching. As you can see, the GFS takes about a 984 millibar hurricane straight towards Hawaii. But thankfully, it should weaken by the time it gets to Hawaii because currently, if you didn't already know, Hurricane Lane is 155 miles per hour and it's starting to take a northwestern turn at about 10 miles per hour, and it's gonna continue to make that northwestern turn as a weakness in the ridge of high pressure that's supposed to be centered just over Hawaii is basically getting pulled more north by a weakening low pressure that's just around Alaska at this point, and that is what's gonna lead Hurricane Lane to basically have an open lane, no pun intended, to get to Hawaii when that high pressure moves more north. So it is going to be very interesting to watch the next couple of days, and any minuscule change in the forecast could bring major impacts and major differences to Hawaii and what impacts they might see with Hawaii. And I'm going to show you right now what are the key factors to this track currently as of this point. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit so you guys could get the idea of what's been steering Hurricane Lane and why it's suddenly taking a northwestern turn. You could see that just north of Hurricane Lane, you see these dark reds, basically these red colors, and those represents areas of warmer air at 500 millibars or higher pressure. And in the summer, the warmer air in 500 millibars is usually higher pressure since the air in high pressure, since there's no clouds blocking the radiation to hit the ground, it usually warms up the ocean or the ground and then the heat rises back up. Where as opposed to a low pressure system where there's clouds blocking the ground, it prevents a lot of that heat from hitting even at 500 millibars. So we're seeing that a lot more higher pressure that's just north of Hurricane Lane. But as we move forward in time, as of let's say even today, we're starting to see the weakness of the ridge of high pressure start to show. Is that it starts to, you can see that the high pressure system starts to have a small weakening in its area of higher pressure, which is basically giving Hurricane Lane a free pass to get very close to Hawaii. And what is the reason for this weakness of the high pressure? Well, I think it's due to a variety of reasons. Obviously, weather is very complex. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think one of the main reasons is due to this extratropical cyclone that's just south of Alaska. And since higher pressure always wants to fill in to lower pressure, we see the higher pressures are trying to fill in. And since this extratropical low pressure is weakening, we see the higher pressure is obviously going to fill in for that. And the higher pressure is going to move more north as opposed to staying south, where it would block where it would supposedly block Hurricane Lane from getting a free pass to Hawaii. But since this extratropical cyclone is weakening, the high pressure wants to take advantage of that by filling in that low pressure system, and it does successfully. But unfortunately, as it does so, the high pressure moves north, giving basically Hurricane Lane an open lane to take that northward turn. And I think another factor to this is also this extratropical low that's also just coming off the coast of Russia, it looks like, and then it's basically also making a small gap between the high pressure that's closer towards Japan and the one that's closer to the US. It's creating that small gap between those high pressures, just big enough where it could create that open lane for Hurricane Lane to take that northwestern turn to Hawaii. So as of what the GFS model is stating in this imagery is that there will be enough weakness in the high pressure, and the high pressure will move just north of us and north of Hawaii, where it will create an open lane for Hurricane Lane to basically make landfall in Hawaii. And it's also bringing the fact that this extratropical low will come to Alaska faster than expected, and that's the key here. If this extratropical low comes closer to Alaska faster and arrives there faster than we expected, then it's more likely to take the easternmost track, which is obviously the most dangerous track. But if it goes slower, a little bit more like what the European is stating, then it should stay offshore of Hawaii, which is definitely the idea that is most needed for the people residing in Hawaii. And as of hurricane alerts, we already have hurricane warnings issued for the biggest and most populated. Wait, is it the most? I'm not sure, but it seems like to be the most biggest area of Hawaii under a hurricane warning, which is very rare for the case of Hawaii. And although it's under a hurricane warning, it's still too far to predict whether you'll experience hurricane conditions, because the cone is very just different from where the impacts will outlie. If it takes the easternmost track, then I would expect hurricane conditions likely, especially in the most eastern part of the island. But if it takes a more western track, then I would probably expect mostly tropical storm force conditions, maybe even less than that, if this storm takes a more western track. And that's obviously what we're hoping, is that extratropical cyclone that I was mentioning moves slower, so this high pressure will really need, so the gap in between these two high pressures won't really exist fast enough where Hurricane Lane could take an open lane to the north, and Hurricane Lane could just stay just a little bit more southeast, since the gap came a little bit too late for Hurricane Lane to make landfall in Hawaii. But as for the impacts in Hawaii, heavy rain is almost inevitable. We have 20 inches of rain possible in Hawaii, the biggest island, localized, but 8 to 12 is mainly the forecast for this. Locally could be more, obviously, and 12 to 18 in some areas, especially in the higher elevations. And just keeping watch in Hawaii. Some storm surge, beach erosion is possible. Tropical storm force conditions are likely for most of Hawaii, and we're hoping. But the good news is that this storm should weaken as it moves to the northwest, because we're gonna see those prevailing upper level winds basically try to break this thing apart. And by the time, and then it's between Thursday evening and Friday evening, it's going to rapidly weaken, which is definitely the good news, which should limit the impacts. But by how much we've expected this to weaken, it still hasn't weakened. It's a 155 mile per hour storm. It's gonna be difficult to forecast. So the projected the projected strength of this storm, since we don't know if those winds will be strong enough. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you guys have a great day. Subscribe for more, and see you next time.